long time. You have
I
become
can
now.
say.
You have become Jammu Kashmir person now, and
Yeah.
no more a Delhi person. No more a Delhi person.
Yeah,
Right.
yes, yes. Jammu.
How's the weather
Srinagar
there?
is, yeah, fine. Here it is. Last night it rained, very, very
Uh-huh.
cold.
Very
Okay.
cold.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Excellent weather. And Srinagar is about 300 kilometer north of Jammu.
All right.
Srinagar.
Okay. Okay.
So we are border is about 15 kilometer from here.
All right. Okay. So, so how's the environment from NITM working in IIT?
Here it is, of course. Earlier I worked for IIT about 10 years.
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
21 years. Then I come back to academics. So, of
Okay.
course, more challenging,
Uh-huh.
more encouraging,
Right.
more creative. Huh? So, every day is a new day. Huh?
Yeah,
Every
exactly.
new
Exactly.
moment. Yeah. So,
But you have lost weight.
That's
huh?
good.
You lost weight, a lot of weight.
Yeah, you gain. No, that is I lost.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Good to see you, bro, sir, after a long time.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, I remember that our visit to Chennai. Huh?
Chennai, yes.
You.
And then, actually, I received a call from Holy Cross College yesterday,
Okay,
Trichy.
good.
So I remember we both visited some
Acha.
10 years ago, Trichy Holy Cross. Remember?
Huh?
Tiruchirappalli.
Huh?
Tiruchirappalli, we visited to Tiruchirappalli Holy Cross College.
Yeah. We could not.
Yeah, yesterday there was a call again. I said we want to have a center over here, disaster management center.
Uh-huh.
And I said, definitely, it's a good sign. But I cannot bring the same professor because he's the other end of India. So it will be very difficult for me to bring him to Trichy. So
Uh-huh.
either we can go for a webinar or we can invite somebody from Chennai. That's what I said. So
Okay.
even Andhra University is showing interest to have a center because Vizag being a commercial capital, so they
Yeah.
are looking forward to take it further. Yeah. So a lot of
Yeah.
developments. Yeah.
Yep.
Looking forward.
Yeah. And a lot of things, even in IIT also now they are opening up with disaster
Okay.
management.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Excellent.
Okay.
Now that's how. So building partnership only we are talking about. So that way
Uh-huh.
there is a proposal coming up that
Uh-huh.
we should have a tie-up of IITs and interested private universities who are all
Yeah.
looking forward to join
Mm-hmm.
hands and to take and support the central and state governments, respective state governments,
Yeah.
on various aspects of disaster management.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There is.
after this 3.0, probably the last session is on building partnerships. We can take it elaborate in future. Michael sir is here and Professor Menon is here. Professor Krishnamurthy is here.
Yeah.
So we can plan. And then, in fact, I'm working with University of Mumbai also.
Mm-hmm.
So the UGC HR cell, probably we can write to NIDM and University of Delhi and University of Calcutta also, and we can have regional offices with affiliated
Okay.
colleges. We can think about taking to the national level.
Okay.
All right, sir.
Sure.
Suresh Kumar sir, we can start.
Yeah, I think so. We can start.
Uh,
Welcome. Yeah.
is Loy? Loy, have you logged in, Loy?
Suresh sir, Suresh sir,
G?
YouTube
Yeah.
live already started. I think we can start the program.
Yeah. Now we'll check. Loy Raghu, have you logged in? Loy?
It's expected. This session is.
Loy is there?
Will be joining. Will be joining.
I think there will be some kind of a time lapse is there. I think he has not yet joined. Probably he'll join a little later.
Yes,
Not a
sir.
problem.
So right now we are starting the program, sir.
Yes. You can start. You can start. Yeah.
Very good evening, all the
Good evening.
experts and guests.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir, sorry, I am unable to see you. I can see you, but I am in a very remote village,
Oh, yeah. Suresh.
almost
Yeah.
tip of India. You are in the other end, Jammu.
Connecting the edge.
Yes.
Department of Geology, University of Madras.
Hmm.
Management Rehabilitation Trust, DMRT,
Hmm.
Nagercoil districts, jointly organize National Webinar Series 3.0 on the theme Disaster Resilient India 2030 on Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
So today we will start the program with a silence prayer.
Hmm.
Welcome back.
Hmm.
Thank you.
So it is my proud privilege to welcome our chief patron, Professor N. Vinod Chandra Menon, founder member, National Disaster Management Authority, Government of India, New Delhi. You will be joining little late on behalf of Webinar Series 3.0 on National Webinar Series, Disaster Resilient India 2030. We welcome Professor Vinod Chandra Menon, sir. Now, an inspiring personality, a good motivationalist, is a live wire of people of India from Kanyakumari to Kashmir.
Yeah, got
Mr.
today representations. Yes.
Michael Vedasubramani IAS, former additional chief secretary, Government of Kerala, Thiruvananthapuram, and also the chairman of DMRT, who is also a formerly vice chancellor of National Rajiv Gandhi National Youth Institute at Sri Perumbudur, Chennai. Sir is the encouraging force and always set the motion of this program. We have started 4 months back. It is scheduled every Saturday between 4 and 6 p.m. So behind this program, Sir is encouraging in all ways, encouraging us. So on behalf of webinar series 3.0, the distinguished experts and delegates, now we welcome you, sir, to chair
Thank
this
you.
session.
Welcome. It's a pleasure.
It is another feather in our cap. Disaster Resilient India 2030, Professor Dr. R.R. Krishnamurthy, Professor and Head Department of Applied Geology, also newly assigned the position of Director, UGC HRD Center of University of Madras, Chennai. Professor joined here as an expert analyst. Now he is hosting this program. He has invited his students to take up the program in the academic stream. Professor is always encouraging us, making this program to happen on behalf of webinar series 3.0, Disaster Resilient India 2030. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, it is my proud privilege to welcome my fellow organizing secretaries, Professor Suresh Mariaselvam, formerly with the UNDP, man connected with international arena, especially in the field of disaster management and the social forum, is known. And my fellow secretary, Professor Dr. Savida AR from Shri Ayappa College for Women. So we welcome on behalf of webinar series 3.0.
Thank you.
It is another proud occasion for me after 5 years. The great personality who started his academic laurels from West Bengal, worked almost all over the country, had been to Japan, for specialization and teaching. A great personality, a visionary who is mainly connected with ecocentric management of disaster resilient system in the country. On behalf of webinar series 3.0, we welcome our expert panelist, a proud panelist, distinguished Professor Dr. Chandan Ghosh ji. We welcome you, sir, on behalf of webinar series 3.0. So one more feather in our cap, that Mr. Engineer Lai Rego is also an IITian from Mumbai. He's a mass practitioner network for the volunteer program US, India, Myanmar. Formerly Joint Director, National Safety Council of India. The additional Executive Director of Asian Development Program, Bangkok. Both of them are the experts for the program. On behalf of webinar series 3.0, we welcome you, sir. Last but not least, today's distinguished delegates are connected throughout the session for the last 3-4 months. So you are very, very important source of encouragement and energy for us. So on behalf of webinar series 3.0 and organizing committee, on behalf of Department of Applied Geology of Madras University and DMRT, we proudly welcome all the people who connected with this program. Thank you. Now, with privilege, I welcome our Chairman, DMRT, former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala, Mr. Michael Vedaswaran, IAS, sir, kindly inaugurate the program.
Yeah. Very good afternoon to one and all, and it's such a great pleasure because every Saturday is something like a revival. I would say rejuvenation, and in this before the disaster, I think every one of us keep on learning. Every disaster teaches us, and thanks for the DMRT and also for the Madras University, especially Professor Krishnamurthy for this program. Especially, I just wanted to thank Professor Krishnamurthy, his inputs and also his trainees. It's a great occasion. Also, we have got especially to, I would say, all yes. Suresh Maria Selvam, Suresh Kumar, and also Savita. Always yes. There is never a no in your initiatives, and especially to Dr. Suresh Maria Selvam for bringing expertise. I was just thinking, perhaps if we are attending a seminar of this type abroad, I think we may have to pay in dollars. But here, I think it is. I would say, I think. Thanks to DMRT, thanks to the university, Dr. Professor Krishnamurthy, I think the experts who are willing to come and contribute in strengthening our country and making our country resilient by 2030, not even till 2030, I think even maybe have to make it much earlier. Thank you very much for especially of the guest speakers who are specialists in their own way. I think Dr. Chandan Ghosh, I have heard, but I have not met. That's what I say. Maybe I'm becoming old, but the name is very familiar. And it's from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. It's such a great pleasure. And east to west, we have got Mr. Patel as well as Dr. Days. So thank you very much to one and all. It's all integrated. I think we commonly make our country stronger. Coming to this sustainable development goals, I think so, certainly, I think when we look into our country and our performance, I think possibly this is a challenge which we have to look into that and all. I wanted especially all of us to focus, especially our speakers, to focus what is that in the district level people are doing. Because finally, when I relate disaster and resilience, I look into my district. Possibly Suresh is looking to Kanyakumari district, Dr. Suresh Maria Selvam, because we immediately correlate what's happening in our district. So I would say possibly what are the programs which are going to strengthen, especially on the sustainable development goal number 12 and number 9, which is very, very relevant, which especially in the disaster resilience and all, right? And particularly when you're coming to, I think we do have got expert, just as an introduction, so I would like to say, I think at the responsible consumptions and productive technology, when we look into that, I think a country like ours, a developing country, there is so much of inequality, state to state, so much difference. When you think of Punjab and Gujarat, I think they are Punjab and Haryana, I think we can say they are little surplus, but when we look into Orissa and Bihar, there are deficiencies and also. Despite all that, I think we have to make something great and we have to be responsible. That the word is very, I think UNDP has very nicely coined responsible consumptions and all. I think we have to look into that and all. I think I'm certainly that. And coming to the technology part, because everywhere the technology is what matters. I think today when we amidst the COVID, when we think of the technology, I think we know how much is to be done, how much is the challenges and all. So we have to cope up. So this technology is very important, and appropriate technology is very much needed in the overall context in the disaster mitigations. Even with all said and done, I think most of the time our communications are by the mobile or other technology. It is not possible even in the normal times. But when we think it of in the emergency, the first thing of the casualty is the communication. Then starts all the confusions and all the problem. So the technology is very, very, very important. But we also have to appreciate when we think out of the communication technology in the whole world and the great contributions and the penetrations of communications, especially the mobile and the utility in the disaster mitigations, there is something very great. That's, I think we have to give credit to that and all, though, but much to be done. Coming to the item number the 3I, I would say the industry, the innovations and infrastructure. I think the industry is needed, but not at the cost of the environment. I think we have to be very, very, very careful. Because I worked in Mussoorie. I think many of us who are familiar with Mussoorie would know how Mussoorie was destroyed because of the mining. Not because of the mining, but because of the not what they did it, what are supposed to be the rehabilitation properly. They have not done it at all. But within 4 years, I think as the Supreme Court was directly coming into, and then we initiated the what we call the monitoring of the by the Supreme Court monitoring on the greening aspect, possibly in the whole world. We have got the what we call the Green Army, or what we call the Green what we call regiment. I think only in the I think started by I think Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who was very concerned about the environment, and we could see. I think I myself is a personal witness that within 4 years we could see almost recreate a great greenery. So this technology is very important. Industry is needed, but all the more, I would say the industrialist as well as the regulatory machinery has to be very careful. When we think of Tamil Nadu particularly, the way the sand mafia is doing and the way they are destroying, I think I would also tell to Dr. Krishnamurthy, I think some of your possibly student geologists in the Department of Geology have just sought voluntary retirement because to escape from, I would say, vigilance or so, because that much is the corruptions. Unfortunate. This is our country. I think we have to look into that and all. I think we have to look into particularly that. So I would say industry and especially innovations. I think we do need a lot of innovations. Innovations can bring a lot of impact in the disaster mitigations and especially the infrastructure. When we look into the infrastructure, the recent cyclonic, despite so periodically the Orissa super cyclone to just, I think we just here, still I heard in Tamil Nadu only in the 2 districts they have just thought about an underground, I think, cable. I think how much we are slow. That's what, because every time why should we suffer? Why should people made to be suffer? It's very, very unfortunate. I think the prioritizations has to be thought about. When we are the disaster, we think lot many things. It is something like you go to a temple or a church, you get very charged, but gradually you come out and then you get diluted at all. I think we need to look into that. I think we do have got experts, certainly. I think we're going to speak about that and also to enlighten us. I especially thank Dr. Suresh Mariaselvam and Dr. Professor Krishnamurthy and the two the guest speakers and also all the participants. I think let us collectively learn and try to make our country strong. Thanks for giving this opportunity. I think Professor Manan will be joining us shortly, and then I formally initiate this the web seminar. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable suggestions, thought-provoking ideas. Really set the motion on behalf of Disaster Resilient India 2030 webinar series. We thank you, sir. Now,
thank you.
I call upon Professor Dr. R.R. Krishnamurthy, Professor and Head Department of Applied Geology and Director UGC HRD Center, University of Madras, Chennai. Kindly give his opening remarks, please.
And good evening to all of you. and I'm happy to meet you here again. And I'm really, this every Saturday is a very, very, interesting day for me. I'm just away from the classroom, but I'm becoming a student almost every Saturday of every week. And it's a learning experience for me. And actually, this is a very good initiative. We started just a month before. It is going very well. And you can see that the majority of the participants are our students, postgraduate students. Presently, they are undergoing the course on disaster management. It is a very good learning opportunity for our student as well. And we have a varieties of participants across the country, and we have a very good resource person. Every week we are having a couple of resource persons, and their expertise and their knowledge in this particular domain is very, very vast. And actually we have to document all the content. Maybe we can bring it out. It's a very good document for that that can be used by the field practitioners as well as the student. And with this, actually, there are main players for this webinar is that is Mr. Suresh Kumar. He is the live wire of our webinar series. There is no doubt. And then bringing the resource persons from the various sectors across the country. That is the capacity of our Professor Maria Selvam. There is no doubt. And we have a very strong administrator, though they have played a very vital role in the administration, the national level and state level. That is our Michael sir as well as Professor Vinod Chandra Menon. And they are the very good, actually the backbone of this entire team. And with their motivation and encouragement, it keeps us going with this same spirit. That is the very, very important part. And I used to acknowledge their contribution and support and encouragement, and especially bringing together resource person one end and keeping in a very vibrant organizing committee and linking with the academic institution. It is, I think this is the first time I am hearing a webinar series of like this for different linkages to this kind of platform. And definitely along with our students, I am also very eager to listen to the speakers. So the main thing is our students are going to take a lot of extract from the speakers. And in addition to that, actually right now, that next week, I think, coming 21st, they are going to appear for the semester examination. Their course on disaster management subject examination will be held on 21st. And whatever the points shared by the panelists today, this will be some very valuable inputs to our students for writing the university semester examination. So this webinar is not just like that even, and it's really a learning experience for the student community. They are the future disaster managers, and they have to help the community in a very better manner. And we are adding different flavors to this curriculum. Actually, I'm very much worried about how to teach the students on the social aspect of the disaster. How to talk about the gender equality, the gender dimension, the poverty, hunger, all these things. As a geology person, but I struggled a lot to how to infuse this kind of knowledge into the university curriculum. This webinar is a very, very wonderful opportunity. Even if DMRT is going to forget us, we will never forget DMRT to again collaborate. It's not only that just a matter of conducting the seminar, but it is directly beneficial to the university students. So with this brief introductory remark, I once again thank the organizers, all the people in the advisory role, and the main players of the webinars, including my student participants. Let us have a very wonderful session this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for your rich tributes and contributions, and your appreciations are really encouraging words to us to take to the different arena in the days to come. Thank you very much, Professor. You are part of this program. You are the main source of energy to make this program more successful. Now it is time to introduce our panelists, Professor Dr. Chandan Ghosh. It is a very, very proud moment for me that just because of Professor Chandan Ghosh, sir, I am connected today because I am otherwise occupied and engaged. Professor Chandan Ghosh, a civil engineering graduate, 1985 batch of Bengal Engineering College, presently Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, IIEST, West Bengal. Did his master's degree in civil geotechnical engineering in the year 1987 from Jadavpur University, Calcutta, followed by PhD from IIT Kanpur in 1992 and Doctor of Engineering in 2004 from Ibaraki University of Japan. After serving IIT 1990-98, currently IIT Varanasi postdoctoral research in Japan, 98 to 2004. Sir has served in Indian Meteorological Department, 2005 and 6, and 13 plus years of, as professor and head from 2006 to 19, Disaster Resilient Infrastructure Division of National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. Dr. Ghosh is currently working as Professor Civil Engineering, IIT Jammu, on deputation from NIDM, Ministry of Home Affairs, New Delhi. Professor Ghosh works in the area of earthquake geotechnology, reinforced earth seismic, microsonation, hybrid drains for ground improvement, auditing and rapid visual screening of build-up facilities, geosynthesis for landslides, mitigation and bioengineering application by vetiver grass for sustainable development. We are proud that Professor Chandan Ghosh is advocating for vetiver grass, practically going to the different nook and corners of the country. And even in Kanyakumari district, he advised the district administration when we experience flood very frequently during monsoon. Professor has already said, and to control flood and to control sea erosion, vetiver grassing will support. So that way we are very thankful on behalf of the participant and the district administration of Kanyakumari district. Sir has devoted more than 30 years of his career in UG, PG teaching, research administration and guidelines, development of teaching tools and training module for engineering, architects, town planners. Professor has guided and mentioned several masters and PhD dissertation, visited, documented several post-disaster sites, taught PG course in IIT Delhi, Dhanbad as visiting faculty, conducted 100 plus professional capacity building programs in disaster resilient infrastructure management, gave more than 250 invited or keynote memorial lecture and published more than 125 papers in reputed journals, conference, proceedings, books, book chapters. As recognition to his seminal contribution, Dr. Ghosh, currently member of State Disaster Management Authority, Tripura, received Leonard Prize for Best Doctoral Thesis in 1993, CIDC Vishwakarma Award 2016, IGS Sri H.C. Verma Golden Jubilee Award 2013, Lifetime Achievement Award 2019 from Indian Geotechnical Society, New Delhi. We are proud and privileged. Professor Chandan Ghosh already connected with Kanyakumari to Kashmir, advocating for the geotechnology and reduce the vulnerability. Especially he visited almost all the vulnerable area and the capacity building program, and he has trained more than lakhs of people like me, and his Facebook page is really appreciable. Every day he posts one of the hazards and the solutions he gives, and technology will be given, innovative technology will be thing. Wherever new technologies are there, professor will be there. He is the person who is connecting international expertise to indigenous way, and the professor is a great boon of India, and he is a guiding force of the country, especially in the field of disaster resilient India. So I have attended different courses under him that within the short span of 24 to 48 hours, professor has agreed. That is the affection and affinity he deserves with us. On behalf of Disaster Resilient India Webinar Series 3.0, sir, we proudly welcome you for this program. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Sir, now the floor is open to you, sir, professor. From Jammu, Professor Chandan Ghosh. From IIT, sir is presenting for us. Sir, kindly unmute yourself, sir. Professor, kindly unmute yourself, sir. Yes.
Okay, I'm
Yes.
on.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, due to Corona, handshaking is off and we are all distant. So whoever we see, we make namaste has become a universal. Huh? That is one of the things that we are learning. But I'm really thankful, Suresh, despite you had lifetime, difficulty, that not difficulty, the loss that you have faced in a span of 1 month, but you have not uh, your undaunting task, even despite you have personal loss, which all friends they know, but you have given above everything that your duty is above everything, and with all cooperations and everything, I put my respect and homage to your parents.
So, Professor, there are
But-
two Sureshes, and both the Sureshes have lost one member from each one. I lost my father last month, and he lost his mother last week. In a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Both
So
Sureshes.
both of you, both Suresh, yeah, both of you have shown that what is duty, and whatever place that they have taken after this physical journey, they are all seeing that
Thank
how
you.
we are living in this life and how we are trying to define our life to the services of the community and for others. All respects to you for taking up such kind of spirit and such kind of spiritual journey between Kanyakumari. If the vibration is there with us, Kanyakumaris, Swami Vivekananda ji, and Kashmir, Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Huh? So, we are living in a society where through this media, we are able to connect ourselves and our gains and gain for the society and humanity. I think it will surpass very soon whatever loss that COVID has inflicted us. But with such kind of synergy, and I think very soon we'll be able to cope up with whatever is the economical loss and anything, but we'll gain in any case. So I'm thankful to all of you for giving me such a platform that where all luminaries are there. I'm just a small thing, and the kind of respect that you have read, Sureshji, that it is just only, it doesn't mean ultimately I'm not above anything, but I am among you, among equals. Just we are serving at having our own unique identity.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you, Krishnamurti sir, and all who are listening to these things. May I share a few slides?
Yes, sir. You can, sir.
Just only few slides for I think 10 minutes, 15 minutes is okay?
You can.
Innovations, I want to speak through some slides. What are the innovations? Okay, can I? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now?
Visible, sir. Visible.
Yeah. So one thing is just only 5 to 7 slides I would like to show.
Okay.
That the topic given to me is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So the first photograph that you are seeing is no doubt is a lifeline of our civilization, that is the road, which got severed, that too in a country which is resilient enough for more than 6, 7, 8 decades, that is Japan. And you can see that 2011 March, that earthquake, how it has severed this lifeline of communication or civilization. And the kind of technology or the kind of knowledge and know-how that we know of in civil engineering for more than 7 decades about the road technology. We all know in civil engineering, we never teach whatever is the things, we never teach about the earthquake effect on the road or pavement. But what we take care is top 1 meter or 1.5 meter only while making the road. But earthquake comes from the ground and it has severed this one. So when it is there, then how quickly they could come back at the right figure. It is only 6 days. Within 6 days of time, this road has been rehabilitated, reconstructed, and this is what is there. 11 March things has happened. On 17th March, they have brought it back to this condition. So in case of here you see road construction, then what are the innovations? Here these days we are making per day target is more than 50 kilometers. Government of India target making roads. Earlier it was maybe 28 kilometers, 30 kilometers. So there infrastructure, within that infrastructure, not only that road construction industry, but also innovations in road construction. So in this particular aspect, even if we consider the case of Japan, and even today, that we have not made any innovations in the infrastructure like this, which go wrong due to earthquake, because we do not study, we do not research the portion below this black portion here, because we take it as a virgin soil. So in case of innovation, these days what is happening, we put some kind of flexible material, geomaterial, it is called geosynthetics, before putting up this kind of pavement, so that it can hold up or it can keep this much of soil compact. Then so the reflection on the top, that which we have seen, it can be minimized. But it is now in most of the roads we are using as an innovation, using this geosynthetic material in between this base and sub base, or even in the paving bitumen in between also, to give a flexibility, not the rigidity, and also to share the strain or stress or whatever comes in, so that such kind of things doesn't come. So now maybe next earthquake will tell us that whether this innovation or this kind of practice are going to keep the road intact or even minimize the loss. So that is where that we innovate by seeing this kind of results. So then let us go that you wanted to see my institute where I'm sitting. This is the plan view. This is the road that NH44 going towards Srinagar, about 290 kilometers from here. This is our institute, IIT Jammu, coming up. I'm sitting here at this corner. There is a north block. Okay, and this is south block. This is north block. So I'm sitting in the north block. You may be knowing that what north and south block in our parliament beside that. You know, south block is with defense, north block is with the ministers and all other civilians. But here, nothing like that. Here we have a very serene academic atmosphere. And from here, those who have heard about the Mata Vaishno Devi is about 25 kilometers from here by road, by this road. Okay, so welcome to Jammu. I'm showing the first photograph. As Sureshji has mentioned about that, this is one of the site visit that I made from here in December 2019 to Kurg. And with the things in mind that one house which you can see, which about to fell down, but no crack, because this portion is not so heavy and this is already exposed. Then we got vetiver grass. And with the community, more than 100 of them in the community, and many people came there. And then we have planted the vetiver grass. You see, how deep, how steep it is. It is not possible to stand, but using this kind of flexible rope and this ladder system. And then I also came down here and checked them to encourage them. Everybody came there to put a community spirit into planting the vetiver grass. These are the grass plant you can see. Not only that, I told them, because it is already so much steep is there, anytime it may fall down, we cannot guarantee. Then we tried to push some kind of nails, some kind of wooden, bamboo was not available, just to increase the stability of this thing. Rather, grass may not help, but we could put some of the bamboo, some of the branches just by physically, manually, into the body of this one, so that they can give some kind of affinity, they will remain. But we could not do it to the extent that possible, but only vetiver grasses are being planted. And then I received just recently, just hardly 20 days back, I received a photograph which is taken on May 2020, means about after 5 months. This is that. And it is, everything is there, no further work has been done here, just only grass planted, and they came up in this manner. And because after that, of course, we could not visit, but this is one such cases that there are several examples are there that they can do wonders. Conventional solution will not work. So innovation again, industry and innovation again have to come from within, and nature has given us many things. Even though geosynthetic kind of material we have produced after seeing the nature, then we try to have a mass manufacturing, because there is a huge requirement of those. So petroleum byproducts we are using geosynthetics in mass scale, but in some places nature's better than nature we cannot do. And here amount of money spent up, it is all collected through community. It is nothing, no money, nothing is regarded. Grass was donated, and only we have arranged for only that midday meal there itself. Everybody is so happy. So this is the one of the several ways that we can take our spirit to grow with disaster, or to grow with innovation and applying them. Another one, here again, lake water you can see. This is a lake water, and lake water cleaning in a month. 1 month means 30 days. And you can see pre-treatment conditions on 4th June 2020. This is the kind of lake water, which is a 2-acre lake, and it is about 2.5 acre, 1 hectare you can say. It was cleaned in 30 days. And cost is, of course, I placed this slide in an international seminar. That is, I converted to rupee. It is actually less than 3 lakh rupee. So less than 3 lakh rupee they took as their maintenance and charge. And after this, in 30 days, lake became like this. It is in Delhi. So it is in Delhi. And they have taken more than 10 projects right now, and I'm just showing you one such, that what kind of mystery or what kind of theory is working over there, and the things that they have used, they are all collected from the nature. So in civil engineering, we are familiar with treating the water, sewage water, and making it, and sewage treatment plant. But here there is no sewage treatment plant. They have used that mixture into the water, that's all. And at different doses and different days, and it is crystal clear. And there are several projects that they have taken. Now it is one of the several ways, again, to take natural things and clean the things that which you cannot do with our conventional way. And as far as, detecting seismicity, I want to now what community needs. This was 132 AD in China. We got it. This is the seismometer, which we call in analog system of seismometer, which we have given a recognition that, oh, this could be like that. Any vibration coming from any side, the dragon ball will fall down to the mouth of this frog. That is an arrangement that we try to understand the science of vibration. And whichever direction, there are 8 such dragon mouth is there, holding this steel or whatever ball is there, ceramics. From any direction, vibration is coming, immediately this will fall down. Now, what is the mechanics behind that? So that may be, I'm not sure, but someone, because it will not fall down until and unless it has got certain mechanism inside. Because this will independently vibrate from one side to another side, so there is a mechanism. So we have known several such techniques, so many machineries that we have produced, and we are making, innovations are taking place. So in disaster management, in order to innovate, just a glimpse of this thing is that how at our even community circle also we can play with such kind of innovations. And that innovation, which started in our pond through some excavation in 132 AD is the record, but currently just hardly 1 year or 2 years old. Currently, what we expect because of the smart mobile phone, because of the communication and technology that we have evolved in all these years, we want to get that our earthquake early warning need to reach in few seconds only. Wherever earthquake is happening, if it is going to affect me or my locality, and I am having a mobile phone like this, like we get so many SMS, we have got communication system so strong. We receive so many communication through this automated bank communication, satellite communication, everything we are giving that. So expectation from the public, from the for the public, from the scientists who are working across the globe is to get such kind of warning that yes, 14 seconds, in 14 seconds, a strong shaking of 7 intensity is going to reach to the spot where you are carrying your mobile phone. So such kind of things already devised, already these are there, but this needs a heavy instrumentation. So this is another way of taking our innovations to that. Okay, so anyway, I want to just say that if we go through these innovations and also industry system, then we can see that in one of the earthquake, you see, February 28, 2001 earthquake, in a Washington earthquake, this was there in a science laboratory, not science laboratory, in a museum. If we don't go for innovation or if we don't make our effort implementable or create something, this was there, an earthquake came, and if we don't do anything, maybe we can take pleasure in writing poetry or thinking or imagining, oh, what a nice rose that it is made by the earthquake. Now, which part of the earthquake effect onto our society or onto our living conditions or in community will take, whether we'll write poetry about the nice rose or go for art and art exhibition, or the reason and cause and then that affecting our buildings. So that is we have to. So one thing is we have earthquake along, but what is missing in our country to make our mindset to go for such kind of evaluation of our vulnerable infrastructure through again various kind of tools and technique that are available. For that, we do not have enough expertise, but we need to check the way that we check our body or health. We need to check our infrastructure, whether it is a road, tunnel, bridge, houses, everything we need to check. So which has not yet taken any shape. It needs a lot of legislation as well as regulation to check the health conditions of our built infrastructure. And if we go for providing early warning, and if we get, this is already applied in Japan. This is a bullet train that the technology made us to face challenges now even ever better, and we have to do the better. This train saved from disaster after automatic brake applied on 23rd October due to mid-Niigata earthquake. This train was saved from total catastrophe because they received the earthquake signal within few seconds, means 2-3 seconds, located this train where it is running, and then automated brake was applied, because for driver he cannot send. So that way, the application of developing early warning and saving such kind of train is the application that we need for. So this is where that technology or innovation and current strategy that we have to look into. Otherwise, earthquakes are coming here. We can see 24/7. Somebody else are working, a big group of researchers, they are working. None of us in the Indian scientists, we are involved in this work. And it doesn't need any, they have not taken any government money or anything. It is all voluntary effort. So again, bringing to the community experts who can work together and giving these things, coming to our mobile phone and taking note of which earthquake is happening, is the real community spirit that we must convey to each other for the synergy. So anyway, I would like to end over here that how simple is taming the landslide. How simple is, we don't need retaining wall or anything. We need simply pipe and we can collect extra water. Or how we can put the grass so that it can cross this one, that is also one way. And we can also see that without grass and with grass, how steeper is this slope. So it is again, nature has given us this kind of things that which we do not have any theory to explain it. So this is where that we must see the nature as well as our innovation, and then only we can make really disaster resilient society. Thank you.
So thank you, Professor. It was a wonderful presentation covering all the aspects of industry, innovation, and technology which we have been looking forward, and that is very apt for the Indian scenario. Thank you very much for sparing your time. Given the short period we invited you, and you have given a very valuable, wonderful resource, especially to the applied geology students. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you, Professor Sir. It is really a thought-provoking session. As usual, the vetiver grassing, how improves the sloping and the other coastal and the sea erosion floodplain area, how this vetiver grass is being used, especially for laying roads. Now, we are creating slopes. So in the roadways and for making, because laying new tunnels, train, that area also you are suggesting that vetiver grassing and lake water cleanings that you have suggested is really meaningful, and that seismicity and this vibration, and within a second it can reach to the every individual. All these things you have suggested is really technology based, and that you have said that a train is saved. This kind of technology that in Rameshwaram we lost in the year 1964, we lost a full capacity of train with the people. Last, it is still alarming us. So on this auspicious day, sir, you have utilized your time for the cause of disaster resilient India 2030, and I proudly say that Madam Dr. Chandan Ghosh, also a frontline warrior, medical practitioner in the Department of Public Health System in Government of Delhi. I take this opportunity on behalf of all the delegates and the experts assembled here during this COVID period, Madam and your family, all the children, they are in the medical field and they are supporting whole world to come out of this pandemic. Thank you very much, Professor, for giving a very valuable inputs. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiraj.
Yes.
Oh, Rigo Saab.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Professor.
prayers and encouragements.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, may I call upon Professor Suresh Mariaselvam, sir, kindly introduce the next panelist. Professor Mr. Loy, sir, is also a part of our program. He was with us in different program. Only Professor Tara Madam only introduced Mr. Loy, sir, and he is a very important personality in the field of disaster management system and the sustainable development goal practitioner. So, Professor Suresh Mariaselvam will introduce the next panelist.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce Lawyer Raghu. First, I must thank him for accepting our invite. It was just 2 days back. Due to this technological interferences and my personal issues, I could not place the request on time. So I called him on Thursday, and he kindly agreed and to present the topic on SDG 12 today. Lawyer Raghu is a practitioner with 30 years of leadership and technical work on governance, program development and implementation on disaster preparedness, risk reduction, resilience and adaptation to man-made and natural risks, and their mainstreaming into sustainable development, particularly partnership building, advocacy, mobilization, and action at regional, national, subnational, city, and community levels. He worked 5 years with Tata Motors, 10 years with India's National Safety Council as Joint Director from 1986 to 96, and 15 years with the Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, which is a dream center for many of these DRR professionals in Bangkok from 1996 to 2011. It's a quite long time. Partnering with international and regional organizations, national and local governments, civil society and labor organizations, Red Cross and Crescent, private sector, and development partners. Since 2011, he serves as technical advisor and volunteer in the US, Myanmar, Egypt, and India on BPRR, Rio 20 Plus, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and other international agendas of 2015-16. He worked to establish the Mass Practitioners Network 2012 and Volunteers Program from 2014. His 3 degrees are BTech from Indian Institute of Technology in Mumbai, Safety from Central Labour Institute, both in Bombay, and then LLB in Law from Pune, and specialized short-term courses on disaster management. So it is really to have engineer Lawyer Raghu, and I'm very proud today to introduce him to the forum and students particularly and Red Cross volunteers will gain a lot of information and in future collaboration links also with him. Thank you very much, Lawyer Raghu. The platform is yours.
Thank you, Professor Suresh Mariaselvam, sir. A piece of information, sir. You are connected with a two system, so you can mute one and you can unmute.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Giving echo. So
Yeah.
Our panelist here, we are very proud that he has put in a lot of exposure. He has connected with the international arena bringing new technology solutions to the country. Sir, I'm very proud to say that I too am a member of National Safety Council, and during post-tsunami, the NSC implemented first disaster management plan of Kanyakumari Township. I was involved. So all the contribution made by you and the various professional body, we appreciate you, sir. On behalf of Disaster Resilient India 2030, we welcome you, sir. Welcome, sir. Now the floor is open to you.
Yeah, hello to everybody. And it's both pleasure and honor to be here. I worked both in India and in other parts of the region. And even now I share time, region as well as other parts of the world, both New York and Cairo being outside of the Asian region. And it's a distinct honor to present to a primarily Indian audience. I'm very happy to do so. I am a firm advocate. The second thing I'm very happy about is the subject on focusing on the SDGs. Because as I lived in New York and was exposed to the momentum around building up the SDGs from Rio Plus 20, I began to learn about the importance through the Open Working Group. And it's very satisfying to see the very comprehensive range of development agendas which are covered by the SDGs. SDG 12 has a longer history, and we will see this history. And I'm very proud to speak on SDG 12 because I'm a firm advocate of responsible consumption and production, or as we used to call it in earlier days, sustainable consumption and production. So can you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
So these are certain key milestones in the journey towards sustainable consumption and production. And I'm picking up a few. The Club of Rome report on limits to growth way back in 1972. And so to the startup of the first UN Conference on Human Environment and the startup of UNEP in Stockholm in 1972. That's how far back it goes. Became a key agenda. The 1987's World Commission on Environment and Development, headed by Prime Minister Gro Brundtland of Norway, helped shape some of this agenda. And it was really in the UN Conference on Environment and Development, the Rio 1992 conference, that we framed Agenda 21, which is an agenda for the 21st century. And it's ambitious, it's bold, it's all-encompassing, and it's moved slowly. Though we are in the relatively early stages of the 21st century, we have a lot more to do. The Oslo Symposium of 1994 really initiated a focus on sustainable consumption and production. And in the Johannesburg conference, that is the 10 years after Rio, the World Summit on Sustainable Development put it firmly on the agenda and initiated what we today call as the Marrakech process on sustainable consumption and production. And if I'm not mistaken, Marrakech is located in Morocco, and that's what kickstarted it. The 20th anniversary of the Rio conference, the first Rio conference in 2012, adopted a bold and ambitious new agenda called The Future We Want. And it is today that which shapes our actions, and also started up the Marrakech process in a more active and coordinated manner, and led to the Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 becoming a key focal point in the agenda for sustainable consumption and production. Next slide, please. So I mentioned some of this already. A key agenda item was the 10-year framework on sustainable consumption and production. And the acronym 10YFP is something you'll see again and again, both in the slides and we talk about it. The Marrakech process, and Marrakech is located in Morocco, was one of the successful outcomes and a formalization in the Rio Plus 20 summit. And it's a very bold agenda, difficult to implement, even though we started out with only 10 years. And we've made good progress, but a lot more needs to be done. And specifically, target 12.1 of the Sustainable Development Agenda calls for the implementation of this 10-year framework program. Next slide. So what did the Agenda for Sustainable Development focus on? And I'm going to read certain key paragraphs. Paragraph 28. We committed to fundamental changes in how we produce and consume goods and services. And a number of sectors agreed that they would collaborate, change unsustainable consumption and production, and become more active in lower rates of consumption and lower rates of production and more amicable or sustainable consumption practices. And the 10-year framework was adopted in 2012. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here, this is the key shaping of the agenda and some of the challenges. So let's talk of the challenges first. Our planet is under huge strain with an expected growth of up to 9.6 billion people by 2050. That's a huge demand potential in terms of consumption of resources. And if we continue in our present path, we will not be able to achieve it. Even today, 1/3 of all the food produced, approximately 1.3 billion tons, rots in consumer and retailer bins without being consumed or during poor transportation and harvesting. At the same time, more than 1 billion people do not have access to fresh water. Less than 3% of the world's water is potable or drinkable. And of that, only 0.5% is really available for freshwater needs. The remaining 2.5% is really the polar ice caps. In spite of this active knowledge, the projection is that energy use will increase by a further 35%. And this is unsustainable. You can, I think, see the slide better than me, but the world continues to use natural resources unsustainably. And you can see the projections both for 2010 and 2017. So we really need to change the way in which we harvest, transport, store, and process food. And we can dramatically reduce what we currently throw out. So, for example, some of the problems are electric waste growing by 38%. Less than 20% is recycled. Recycle more, we can save more. Next slide. No. Why is this important? What does safer consumption and production aim to do? It is to do more and better with less. And this may sound ambitious and impossible to do, but it's feasible and possible. And it's a bold, not new, it's a bold old agenda, and it's not being adopted enough. So we need to reduce resource use, reduce degradation, to eliminate pollution or substantively reduce it while increasing the quality of life. We can accept growing our economies, though I put a question mark there. That's my question mark, not from the main agenda, with minimizing waste. So growth containment growth contamination of the environment since development back, and we need to reverse it. And it's not so easy, even though it's a long-standing global agenda. So this slide, and I would encourage you to all receive a copy of the slide, but there are both challenges on some of which we've talked about. 1/3 of all food produced is wasted. House consume 29% of global energy. What are the solutions for these? Reduce food wasted, switch to energy efficient lighting in homes. And the third problem of fresh water supply with heavy pollution, we need to reduce the release of chemicals and waste into water bodies. Next slide. This slide I'll show you a second time later, but I want to say that in the overall agenda, there are, well, here in this slide, 4 important strategies highlighted, and we'll come back to them again and again. The sustainable management and use of natural resources, the second column, management of chemical and all wastes, 12.5, the substantially reducing waste generation, and 12.8, promoting universal understanding of sustainable lifestyles. And some of the strategies are to promote clean energy usage and production, to do efficient farming and give priority to other crops also, separate wastage and manage it well, shift overall to reusable items, and enhance campaigns, volunteering, participation, and education, especially to people. We'll come back to this slide, and I've repeated it later by talking about the indicators, the current status, what are our strengths and weaknesses at that time. Next slide. So what are the almost 12 targets of SDG 12? So one is to enhance the implementation of the 10-year framework on production, on sustainable consumption and production. This is, the acronym is 10YFP, adopted in Rio +20. So we have another few years left up to 2022. And I'm sure we'll need to continue doing work on it. So 10 years may become 20, but it's important to, it's a very important framework and a key to the earlier visions of sustainable development. Target 12.2, sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources, understand nature better, and engage with natural resources. 12.3, halving the per capita global food waste, both at the retail and consumer level, and reduce food losses along production and supply chains. 12.4 focuses on environmentally sound management of chemicals and wastes throughout their life cycle. And there are several international frameworks for it. We'll come to them. Significantly reduce their release into air, water, and soil, minimizing their adverse impact. 12.5 is a target to, and they haven't specified the amount, I would say reduce to 0, but at least the negotiators have a more conservative target, substantially reduce waste generation. And these are through the 3R approach, through prevention of waste, reduction, recycling, and reuse. The 12.6 as a target is to encourage companies, especially large transnational companies, to adopt sustainable practices and integrate sustainability information into the reporting cycle. Here there is reasonable progress, but there are certain challenges, and we'll talk about them. Next slide, please. So 12.7 focuses on public procurement practices that are sustainable. And let's remember that a significant amount, I read somewhere something like 47% is procured through government at various levels. And that means there's a huge opportunity if we can rejig the way in which government procures. And that's a huge challenge, but let's see. It's an identified target. 12.8 focuses on making sure that people have relevant information, awareness for sustainable development, and advocacy of lifestyles which are in harmony with nature, which I would be bold enough to say requires a substantial shift in the way in which we currently live, consume, produce. In some ways, the current shutdown with COVID is exposing us to ways of living that are potentially more sustainable. I'm not advocating that we have more COVIDs, but I am definitely advocating that we sustain and expand the new practices on reduced consumption and production, reduced travel, etc. 12 point B is implementing tools for monitoring sustainable development impacts, focusing on sustainable tourism. So both promoting local culture, enhancing products which are focused on locally applicable richness. And I'm currently living in Egypt. We have seen a range of things which are so different from parts of India and yet similar to parts of India. And it's very rich to see. And we must have sustainable tourism targeted both at people within as well as those without. We normally end up seeing more things outside the country than within our own country. And I plead guilty for it. And apparently last 12C, but very important, is to reduce and rationalize. I would say reduce dramatically, but certainly to begin with rationalize and eliminate inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, which actually encourage wasteful practices. So we need to remove market distortions, restructure taxation, phase out subsidies, and this will help using more sustainable and reusable energy, renewable energy. So this is an active component which will help us reshape and move towards blue, green, and yellow energy sources, which are all from nature. Next slide. So let's take one by one. And I've talked about some of these. I've talked about the targets which are included in the SDGs, and they are listed. A year after the SDG was completed, there was another year spent on developing indicators. And the specific indicator for target 12.1 is identifying and promoting the number of countries which have sustainable consumption and production practices, national action plans, and mainstreaming of SCP, sustainable consumption and production, as a priority or a key target in national policies. And I would say here that, go to the previous slide, please. Focus and adopt even at the subnational level. And this is an important area. The progress has been relatively slow, but it's extremely important. And policy framing is easier to do, and that's why it's only targeting policy framing. It's much more difficult to start adopting those policies on a systematic way. And therefore, this will be a startup target and indicator for future, the rest of the decade as well as beyond. Next slide. So I've already talked about sustainable management and use of natural resources. The two key targets are to reduce the material footprint per capita, and material footprint per GDP as one target, and reduce domestic material consumption, same material consumption per capita and per GDP. Next slide. Target 12.3 talks about halving per capita global food waste, both in retail and consumer levels, and reducing food losses across production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses. And you will see below some of the unfortunate global food losses that exist, and we are targeting all the three sectors. I can go into more detail on this, but we can take it up in a further question. And this is an ambitious target, but we need to act firmly. And if we can increase the target, all the better. Next slide. Environmentally sound management of chemicals and reduction of waste throughout their life cycle. And we have many international frameworks for it. Significantly reduce waste release into air, water, and soil to minimize their adverse impacts on human health and the environment. And the specific targets identified were the number of parties to international multilateral environmental agreements on hazardous waste and other chemicals, to meet their commitments and obligations. And it's not just to count the number of parties who have adopted or signed up to these agreements. We should see that they need to translate them into action. And there are some actions which need to be well funded, so funding is a different challenge. But there are certain actions that can be taken, which need not require huge fresh investment. It requires political will. And I can give examples of this. And a second measure, which is realistic, is to see how much hazardous waste we generate per capita, how we are able to reduce that, and what is the proportional proportions of hazardous waste, and what type of treatment are we adopting. Next slide. 12.5 is again reduction of waste generation, but through the 3R approach. So actually it's P and 3R approach. So prevention, if what we can do to prevent waste is the best way of achieving reduction of waste. But we need to reduce it, we need to recycle it, and we need to reuse it. So don't just throw out waste and allow it to be buried, but segregate and reuse. And there are practical ways of doing it, and this is very important. And there are traditional ways of doing it also. In fact, sitting here in Egypt, or I remember my days in India, the rag pickers and waste recyclers actually save us all a lot of some of these challenges. So a key indicator is the national recycling rate, the tons of material recycled, and this is one way of measuring. Next slide. 12.6 focuses on the private sector, encouraging companies, both large and transnational companies, but also the national and subnational ones, to adopt sustainable practices and to integrate, at the minimum, sustainability information into the reporting cycle. This has been done voluntarily or legally in certain countries, and we need to encourage this happening more. So a target or an indicator for this is number of companies publishing sustainability reports, and there are lots of valuable formats for these sustainability reports that we can see and look at. Next slide. Target 12.7 focuses on public procurement practices, and I told you it's a significant amount in the country, something like 47%. So what is the key target? What is the key indicator to measure progress? And this says here, number of countries implementing sustainable public procurement policies. It's not enough to adopt a policy, not enough to shape an action plan, but to actually act on the action plan. And that will be a better way of monitoring it. But let's start small and focused and do more. Next slide. Am I cutting the time? Next slide, 12.8, yeah. So information and awareness for sustainable development is a key gap. And we are doing something by holding this webinar itself, but we need to do a lot more. And we need to advocate and demonstrate what it means to adopt a lifestyle more in harmony with nature. I mean, India has made good progress and we hear about it. Sorry? Okay.
No, correct. No problem.
So the specific targets are 4. One is global citizen education and I would say national and sub-national citizen education. Then the second is education for sustainable development, including education on climate change, which is mainstreamed in national education policies, curriculum, teacher education, and student assessment. And I would say the measure it is also what kind of projects students do, what is implementable, and how much gets adopted by others. So this, we can go beyond the targets. These targets are indicative. They are difficult to achieve, but at the national level and at the sub-national level, we can go beyond the targets. Next slide. There's a bit of confusion on the numbering. It's not confusion by me. It's confusion created by the SDG process, where at some stage they did not. There was some negotiation around whether to have reduce some of these targets because they were overlapping. But finally, it was adopted, and they just preserved the original numbers. So it's a bit of confusion apparently on the numbering system, but it's important. So do read it. Supporting developing countries to move towards more sustainable patterns of consumption and production. And the specific measurable indicator is the amount of support on research, development, and environmentally sound technologies, and adoption of these practices at the national level. And I do not believe that it only requires money, it requires understanding and commitment, and there are actions that can be taken and should be taken at the national level, even without significant investment in resources. Next slide. So 12B is focusing, and this is important, the key word here is sustainable tourism. So encourage tourism, but which helps create jobs, promotes the variety of local cultures that we exist around the planet, and even within a country as large as ours, and adopting sustainable tourism strategies needs to be monitored both through the number of strategies or policies and implemented action plan. This is important. So not only prepare action plan, but see how much is implemented with agreed monitoring and evaluation tools. And the progress is slow here, but it's actually very fruitful. And this is one of the positive products. There's not much positive from COVID, but this is one of the positive products from COVID, where substantial domestic tourism has increased, and we need to advance this. Next slide. And maybe this is the last slide on the targets. And you've heard this before about rationalize inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. This is somewhat diplomatic language. It actually means dramatically reduce fossil fuel subsidies, but it's a very challenging task because people have got used to it. And go back to the previous slide, please. But this is certainly possible. And we have seen that when we have pushed this agenda, the advocacy and implementation for environmentally sound technologies, sustainable technologies, and energy sources which are from nature have come to bear, the blue, green, yellow energy production that I talked about. And one way of specifically measuring and one indicator to be used is the reduction in the amount of fossil fuel subsidies. Reduction word is not used there. That's what it implies. And as a proportion of total national expenditure on fossil fuels will enable us to focus on and show the reduction that is achieved. Next slide. So you've seen the key. Oh, is there one more? No. Next slide, please.
Yeah, it's going. Yeah.
So we have these, well, I would say almost 10 targets or 11 targets. The numbering doesn't matter. But how can we address it? So this reinforces some of the content which you have seen earlier, but I want you to focus on this slide. And later, when you get copies of this slide, look at this slide because it summarizes everything very effectively. So SCP, or Sustainable Consumption and Production, promotes resource and energy efficiency, sustainable infrastructure, provides access to basic services, green and decent jobs, and I would say green, blue, yellow, decent jobs, and a better quality of life for all. And this doesn't mean higher use of energy. It in fact means simplification and reduction of waste as well. This will help us achieve development plans, reduce costs, both economic, environmental, and social, strengthen economic competitiveness, and of course, most importantly, reduce poverty. The complete range of actors in the supply chain, both from producers to final consumers, and waste disposal itself, they're not fine because there's a lot that we do not consume. So identifying and tackling waste and dealing with it imaginatively is very important. The emphasis on awareness raising through education, change in lifestyles, providing information through standards and labeling, and engaging in sustainable public procurement is some of the key methodologies that have been identified. So the call for a new global partnership is made very clearly in this goal. And I've added here or emphasized that this global partnership is not just at the global level, but at multiple levels in the world, including at the regional, national, and I am a great advocate of subnational. So though this is not implied specifically in the language, it is not mentioned specifically in the language, it is implied. And collaboration between governments, policymakers, business, consumers, researchers and scientists, retailers, the media, and national government funding agencies, as well as development cooperation agencies, are people who will address them. Let's go to the next slide. So what have we done in India? And let's look at some of these figures. It's a little confusing sometimes to understand, but if the population reaches 9.6 billion by 2050, which I mentioned earlier, an equivalent of 3 planets will be required to sustain current lifestyles, which means we have to alter and change current lifestyles, reduce consumption, reduce waste, alter waste. And this doesn't mean keep the poor poor. No, it means keep the poor effectively well-fed, have some of the rich reduce their consumption. And I'm a firm advocate of this. There are figures here. Look at this figure. 19.9% of urban India's waste is processed, which means that approximately 80% is unprocessed and trashed. I see this also in the current country in which I'm living. So we need to fix this. And some of the agenda is setting, which has been done, is here. And I'd like to read out from here that in October 2015, India committed to reducing emission intensity of its GDP by 20 to 25% from its 2005 levels by 2020, that's this current year. So we need to measure and find out how much we have achieved. Maybe the actual shutdown has helped achieve some of it, but I'm sure it's not yet as high as 20 to 25% reduction. And we've set an ambitious target of 33 to 35% by 2030. Let us aim to catch up with these ambitious targets, and we may need to do more. Happily, on Gandhi Jayanti in 2016, India ratified the Paris Agreement and adopted national policies on biofuels and clean energy, establishing a clean energy fund. These are only few of the government flagship programs for achieving sustainable consumption and production and managing an efficient use of natural resources. Next slide. So some of this we have already seen, and I'll just highlight a few keywords. The 10-year framework on sustainable consumption and production, the more efficient use of natural resources, halving the per capita global food waste, reducing food losses, altering supply chains, and by 2020, that is this year, promoting environmentally sound management of chemicals and waste. And this will not happen only by 2020. This will have to continue well beyond it. And we need to understand the significance of throughout their life cycle. We haven't fully understood it. And even somebody like me who is committed to it is not necessarily practicing it. So I plead guilty to not being the best environmental practitioner. We need to significantly reduce their release into the air and reduce adverse impacts. Next slide. Reduce waste generation, encourage companies to have sustainable practices and report, promote public procurement practices. I've talked about this before.
Yeah, joining just now. Yeah, I remember. Yes.
Sustainable development and
Okay.
lifestyle
You
in harmony
are.
with nature. Can Mr. Mariselvam,
Somebody's
Professor Ghosh?
Yeah.
Could
can
you
you
please
put off your mic?
Yeah,
Okay.
mute your
So
mic.
ensure people have information and change their lifestyles and support developing countries. And we need to sometimes provide money so that we adopt more sustainable patterns of consumption and production. The targets are ambitious, but they're needed. Next, and the last slide, not last, but tourism we've talked about, fossil fuel subsidies we've talked about enough. We can come back to the details if we, so next slide. Now, this is a slide I showed you before, but let me now focus on these other three elements: the indicators, the current status, the strengths, and the weaknesses. So if we talk of sustainable management and use of natural resources, there has been a continuing rise, and the target is clear. So slowing the rise, declining the total cropped area, zero plastic bag usage by 2030, which means we must have intermediate targets also, and effective disposal of industrial waste for target 12.4, 12.5 target, 90% recycling of plastic and reusable waste, glass and metal by industries by 2030. And let us look at some of the current status. So it's still extremely high and it's going up. Similarly here, oxidation ponds, sludge ditches, municipal collections are still problems. 12 tons per year of PET plastic bottles, metal and glass collectors continue to exist. I'm coming to the last slide last. What are some of our strengths? We are moving towards hydropower. We are moving to mixed cropping patterns, including legumes. We are looking at demand of other crops. We are becoming more health conscious. We are altering sources of income and increasing collection bins. But there are weaknesses. There are gaps in policy. There are bad habits. There is town planning in concept, but not necessarily managing according to plans. And easy old bad habits remain. And sewage systems are still in continuation. So we also have unconscious habits of continuing to throw out waste without segregation. And the strategies we've already talked about. I'd like to talk also the last part about promoting universal understanding of sustainable lifestyles. And you can see teaching SDGs through national education policies. India has done a baseline study in 2015, and we have identified partners including UNESCO, the media, schools, colleges, and the World Wide Web. We need both money, but we also need better habits and strategies of campaigning, volunteering, participation are ways to go. Next slide. And I think this, yes. So this is the last slide. And a lot of this is repeated, but I would encourage you to read it. So implementing the 10-year framework, halving per capita food waste by 2030, promoting sustainable public procurement practices, people everywhere having relevant information, and we can use some of these designs in our advocacy, achieving sustainable engagement and effective use of natural resources. So some of this I have already spoken, and eliminating, we still use the conservative word of rationalizing, but eliminating inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. So I want to end my presentation here, but there's a lot more material to be done, to be talked about. So I'd leave you some time to digest it. I'll leave you some time to ask me questions or share your views, because there's a lot of wealth of understanding in the room. I know several of you, and I have been impressed by some of the insights. In fact, this has not been my presentation alone. This was, I added a few slides to what was an existing presentation, and I want to appreciate both the Suresh's, Suresh Maria Selvam and A. Suresh Kumar, both of whom helped to do this overnight in these 2 days. So thanks to Michael, thanks to Vinod Menon in helping shape this. So I look forward to questions, comments, and actually sharing our experiences, because I'm not the only expert on this. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Lloyd. It was an excellent. Could you please keep your camera on so that we can look at
Yeah.
The first thing is, I must thank you for accepting an invitation at the short time. In fact, maybe I was echoing a lot because I'm sitting in 3 mics because there is no power. It is a frequent power cut is going on over here because this is a cyclone-prone area. Frequent power cuts are there. If one system goes off, so that I can work on other systems. So there are 3 mics and 3 systems. When I'm watching, when I'm presenting, when I'm talking. So this is how this disaster management practices come into the real thing. My question is, consumption is concerned. A lot of good practices to be documented. Then only we can make it into practice. See, see, for example, oxidation pond. The oxidation pond is one of good example which Kadalur district is using it extensively. But the problem is the community is not been properly sensitized, and they are not supposed to put the solid waste into it. But since the community was not properly sensitized, a lot of solid waste went inside, and there was seepages, and it was creating another kind of health problem. So recently, when I visited, some of the walls of that oxidation pond is completely broken, and a lot of seepage was happening, and the wastewater is getting mixed up with the nearby stream, where they used to soak this coconut coir to make, coconut fiber to make coils. So the livelihood is now stopped. So whenever we are doing some kind of development, there should be a clear indication that some kind of knowledge is required. So is there any document is available that good practices of the consumption and production, responsible consumption and production is concerned? Is there any documentation available on this SDG 12? Because it is now only area specific. Unless otherwise we come across with different practices. It is every time it is experiment, and then plus and minus, and again start doing it over there. We find it because this is very important aspects of SDG 12 in mainstreaming of disaster risk reduction, and we have to go a little advanced way also. So what do you suggest? How, because it is now, you also talked about in Egypt and India. So everywhere it is area specific. So to make it a common platform, one is sharing of knowledge platforms like this, or that should be a good documentation of good practices on SDG 12.
I mean, I completely agree. But what I would suggest, this is important, and we'll come back to it. If there are other questions, let's hear what kind of questions and comments people want to make. So we'll come back to good practices. I'll talk about waste. I would use strong words, mismanagement, or inadequate management of waste. So, So we'll come back to that.
the forum is open for the questions. Students.
Let's take 3 questions or 4 questions first. Questions, comments, anything, because I'm not the only specialist in the room or advocate in the room.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll do 1 round of answers, then we can take a second round. So maybe 2 more comments, 3 more comments, please.
I think your presentation was very good and the flow was very good. I don't think there will be any question unless otherwise the practitioners will come across. Most of them are students. I would like to hear from the session chairs.
Sorry?
Sir, please. Sir, you have received a lot of positive comments in the chat box, both in the YouTube as well as in the...
I am unable to see the comments. So all that I've seen is only compliments, which is fine.
Yes.
I appreciate compliments, but maybe I'm missing.
I have a small question. Sir, can you please brief your current mission? Current mission.
Your current responsibility.
Yeah. Your current...
your present role in Egypt.
Okay. No. Okay. I mean, okay, I will certainly brief. So that is easy. That is easy.
Yeah.
So I will brief on my current role. And it's not necessarily confined only to Egypt. In fact, I'm more active or more engaged in India, primarily over the internet and email in this current lockdown period. But we'll come to that. So I'll talk about what I'm doing now.
I'll put my one observation. I think thanks for the nice presentations, particularly when we look into our country. I think there are positive, but still I feel sometime back we had the 20-point program and point-wise it was monitored. But I feel that is lacking currently in our districts and all. Because SDG goals are very, very more relevant to the developing countries. Unfortunately, when you even look into the website, no district is monitoring the SDG goals in an effective way. I feel that is a non-commitment of the government. It is not mere a signatory, because unless what is happening, I can relate only to my district. What is happening in Delhi stubble burning, it's all may not affect me, but what is happening in my district where I live, in Trivandrum or Kanyakumari is more, that is not, unfortunately, I would say come down is what feel. I want like to have, Professor, your comment. How is in Egypt they are doing at the grassroots level? Is it the panchayats are more effective, or it's the administrative setup in implementing this? Thank you.
Okay. So I think let me take these 3 questions first, comments. And I don't want to make, I'm an important observer of what's happening in Egypt, but I think I know a little more about what's happening in Asia and India in particular, though not necessarily at the district and sub-district level. So let me just share my thoughts with you. One is, yes, I think, I mean, I want to compare, first of all, the sustainable consumption and production is apparently outside of disaster management, yet it is an umbrella concept which actually helps us shape and improve our actions for disaster management. And in fact, our actions for disaster management have to be in terms of disaster risk reduction and disaster preparedness, these 2 elements. And I think that the advocacy and the implementation of sustainable consumption and production actually links with environmental management, links with various elements of environmental management, and the agenda is broad and diverse. It is far too ambitious to be achieved by 2030, but it certainly provides a very elaborate and effective, what shall I say, layout of what needs to be done. I entirely agree with Michael that it's not enough to work at the national or even state level. We need to go down to the districts and even within the districts at the panchayat level also. And one panchayat may differ significantly from another panchayat. One state is very different from another state. So the national picture sometimes is not very clear on the differentials. So we need to work at multiple levels. We need to work at multiple sectors within the same level. So whether we take it at the village level, or whether we take at the district level, or whether we take at the state level, need to work with multiple sectors. So if we are working on disaster management or waste management or sustainable consumption and production, these are seen as three different sectors. They are not. They are linked. And in fact, the sustainable consumption and production is an overarching concept, and not just concept. It's a very sound, valid approach to managing the environment and altering our lifestyles. And I would encourage us to imbibe it in our day-to-day life. Now, how is this linked to disaster management? We need to link it, and we need to find operational linkages and link them at the local level. In fact, today in some of the advocacy which I do, I talk about myself as being a technical advisor on DPRR, so that disaster preparedness and risk reduction, along with the SDGs. And for me, the two are linked. So coming back to that, we need to work at the lowest level. We need to exchange information. We need to recognize the differences. So this is one comment. There were examples of good practice. You see, ironically, traditional waste management in Egypt is done through people going around in donkey carts collecting and segregating waste. So it's like our rag pickers in the country, in India. It's very similar, very similar. And of course, sometimes not enough is done, but at the same time, this is a traditional occupation. And we very often dismiss these people as, doing a very low-key danda. But it's a very important role they are playing. We must recognize the so-called rag pickers as the waste segregators. Yeah. They are the reusers. They are the people who eliminate what is rubbish from what is reusable. And we must recognize the value of what they do. And we must, in fact, compensate them more, because then only we can achieve, the validity of that occupation and the importance of that occupation. We need to change our lifestyles, both at home as well as in the public spaces which we occupy. And I don't claim to have done that fully myself. I still, when I throw out the garbage, I am not segregating it. I put it in a fixed place, and I know that segregation will be done by somebody else. I do a little amount of segregation, but not enough. So even somebody like me who advocates about waste management is not practicing it enough.
Yeah, that's right.
But having said that, we need to change our lifestyles, and there are various ways of doing this. Now, in terms of consumption, and we talked of handling of wastewater, you see, somewhere around the late 70s or maybe early 80s, we started this field of environmental engineering and established wastewater treatment plants. But this is not seen as community-owned, community-driven. It is not well handled. Very often when inspectors come, then people are shown and sometimes operate the plants. We still throw out a lot of water, wastewater into the Ganges, for example. So that's why we have the Ganga Action Plan, and we probably need this. As I understand, Tamil Nadu and the changes in rainfall patterns have led to severe water shortages. And in fact, it's a problem. And then on the other hand, you have cyclones in Karnataka, in Tamil Nadu, and then you have too much water. So, I mean, these problems and challenges need to be thought at not just a higher, I don't mean higher level, but in a more complex manner and acted upon. And we need community engagement. So I think this multi-sectoral, not just government, but business, but CSOs, multiple levels of government acting is a necessary way of working. And lastly, I want to say, I don't want to talk only about the 20-point program or the current government's program. We need to focus on amending our ways of life. And the SDG 12 is one of the ways in which we can do it. And we need to detail it out and we need to act on it at multiple levels within the country and in each of our countries, and within the country in each of the districts and sub-districts and communities. So that's my advocacy.
Excellent.
And
So
I recognize that it's not easy. It's easy to speak about it.
Yeah.
It's far more difficult to do it on a sustainable basis.
True, very true. That's why I asked that question, good practice, because see, if we take agriculture, country like India, where one side there is food security, and other side there is a waste management, both are there. So that could be some kind of mechanism to work out how much food is required, and then according, even if it is not 100%, to certain level of meeting the needs of the people, enough food is being served. Other side, minimizing the waste management. A lot of food is being wasted. Even yesterday when I attended one of the functions, I could see a lot of people wasting food or something. So that's a food security one side, and it's not having enough sensitization on waste management. So this is an example I'm talking about. For each and every sector, if you look at it, there is a kind of gap is always there. So unless otherwise some of the practices to discuss and that we understand first, you rightly pointed out, we are talking about it and we ourselves in many other places we are not following it properly. So there is a kind of sensitization is required, continuous sensitization, and this kind of good practice documents. So I request the universities who are all participating here to take that as a topic for research or kind of an exercise. We can find out a way with the UN officers. We can also write to them and collect the data and come out with a publication on good practices on SDG 12, which will throw a lot of light for the practitioners to experiment and take it further. So that's what my humble suggestion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now there is a feedback expected from Dr. Renuga of Chennai. Madam, I request you to give a very brief feedback. Dr. Renuga.
Yes, sir.
Very short.
And after that, I would also encourage Vivek Coelho, who has framed a very good question here, to talk a little bit. So
yeah, sure.
Dr. Renuka, please.
Yeah.
Sir, I am a student of University of Madras, applied geology student, sir, not doctor, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we got confused. There's another Dr. Nagercoil there, so we got confused. Anyway, carry on.
Thank you, sir. Very good evening to everyone.
Could you please switch on your camera so that we can look at your
face
profile?
Yes, sir. Very good evening to everyone. I thank each and every speaker, respecting Mr. Loy Rego sir, Chandan Ghosh sir, Suresh Mariaselvam sir, and the host. Most specially thanks to Suresh Kumar sir and the ma'am. Both are jointly organized this webinar. Have done a great job, sir, and Michael sir. And finally, our great professor, Dr. R. Krishnamurthy sir. We are blessed and proud to have such a wonderful professor with us and creating more vibrant and depth of knowledge in this course. Thank you, sir. First,
okay.
Michael sir has a sweet speech. That is what is happening in our district: inequality within the states, technology usage, the communication, industrial activities, innovation that will affect the people in our mother earth is very excellent, sir. Next, our R. Krishnamurthy, Dr. R. Krishnamurthy, sir. And I thank for arranging such an important webinar series, which is more useful for us during in this pandemic situation. In my experience, it is a new learning platform. We are learning every week, observe many things and sharing our feedback also. As a geologist, we have the responsibility to save a people. We are molding as very good human beings, as stakeholders, and a good social service. by our only HOD sir. Then the introduction of Ghost sir, which is given by Suresh Kumar sir, is very motivated without hearing his speech. Thank you so much, sir. First of all, Dr. Ghosh sir, and the industry, innovation and infrastructure. In Japan 2011, how earthquake damaged the roads and its construction, how will affect the civil ages, how they come back from the disaster resilience that it comes from in our mind visually, both civil engineering and the geological aspect. And I also saw the amazing aerial view for IIT Jammu Kashmir. In Kurg, landslide treatment by local in 2019, the landslide is vertical, steep. The people planted the grass at the place to manage and come back from the landslide. The unity of communities play a major role in this case. In Delhi, lake water cleaning in mouth 1 hectare are cleaned in 30 days. After doing this, the lake is very clean and very attractive. In China also, the detecting seismicity, the mechanism where the vibration comes in which direction, and the mobile phones are shaking during the vibration, quake alarm, or also helps to give the earthquake warning. And, and the natural created sand pendulum and rose during the earthquake in Washington, which is very interesting and protected in a museum. The train saved from the disaster earthquake, automatic brake is applied. How the technologies are very effective and very useful. The seismic monitor showed in very understandable, sir, and the geotechnical and technical slope stability, soil mechanism of vetiver grass, and everything is very clear and understandable. Thank you so much. You gave a wonderful and motivated speech, sir. And the next, the introduction of Lois sir, that is given by Suresh sir, is creating more interest to listen Lois sir's speech. The topic is responsible consumption and production. Sir explained the milestone of the sustainable consumption and production. The goal of this 2015 to 2030 is very clear, and the 10-year framework on SCP that is made by Rio Conference in 2012, and 2030 agenda and the challenges for sustainable development is very understandable, sir. Why is this important? The main aim is doing more and better with less. The increasing welfare gains for economic activities by reducing the resource use, degradation, pollution, increasing quality of life, and minimizing the wastages. And this picture, that was wastage of the food, fresh water supply, chemical waste in water bodies. This is the sad reality of today's situation. Very clearly understandable, sir. And the target indicators, current status, strength and weakness, strategies in the chart, it very attractive and contain more information about this, sir. And this explanation of the chart is very clearly, which contain more depth of knowledge. And how can we address this with the collaboration of government, education, media, tourism, fossil fuels, poverty, and funding agency, and which is really interested people, and what is their roles and their responsibilities. And you are shown more diagrams and cycles, is which very useful for us, sir. And thank you so much, Loy sir. Your speech was more encouraging and gave a motivational themselves, sir. And finally, I really enjoyed the whole webinar, and I want to thank you for being such wonderful speakers. The way you are teaching, the way you making learning so interesting and explaining everything was outstanding. I wanted to thank for being such an amazing person. Thank you so much, sir, for creating a wonderful opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Renuga.
Thank you, Renuga. You have given a very good feedback. Really, more
Renuga?
of a faculty than a student. Your expression, Professor Krishnamurthy sir, we really thank you for identifying and motivating such young ones towards the disaster resilient India. So now it is time for our session chairs for the closing remarks.
In between,
before the, one second. One second. Renuga, the presentation is been sent by Loy sir. I'll share with all of you through Suresh Kumar, because the pictures, as you rightly said, it's very informative, and he has put his comments also, and so we'll send it over. That's one thing. So Loy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah.
I will say some things, but I saw the chat comments from Vivek Coelho. So I will respond to it, but I want him to speak a little bit on what he means. So if he's willing, then let him speak. Otherwise, I will. Yeah, Vivek.
Vivek Coelho.
Yeah.
Vivek Coelho.
Yeah. Namaste, sir. Namaste, everybody. Basically, I just wanted to understand with a lot of funding vis-a-vis the SDGs and the commitments that India has made, a lot of foreign fund flows in to achieve these targets, at least as an initial impetus. So how can we as practitioners in this domain bring in accountability as part of the implementation strategy for policy implementation and formulation vis-a-vis the SDGs? Number two is, during these government partnerships, a lot of money that comes in from UN agencies do not use measurable indicators, but use project outputs, which is maybe a few webinars done, maybe a few conferences held. But when Loy sir talks about how it needs to work at the panchayat level, district level, state level, and at the national level, how do we bring in measurable indicators to ensure the enforcement of certain practices to achieve a certain goal? And how can we bring accountability with all the stakeholders involved, using government as a leverage partner? Like how the government actually enforces certain acts, like for example the Disaster Management Act. How can the government, if we give all the responsibility to the government, maybe they may not have time, but how can they be a key partner in the implementation strategy to ensure that the various stakeholders implementing projects on SDGs are actually using indicators and are then being screened on their progress? Thank you.
Should I comment? Because I didn't realize the question was targeted at me. And it's good that you talked about it, because now I'm a little clearer on what you mean. I believe, first of all, I'm a strong believer, and this may shake you a bit, but I believe that we need to do things beyond projects, and even before projects and after projects. So projects is one modality, but projects can be funded by local authorities, it can be funded by the private sector, it can be funded by people power and volunteerism, in addition to foreign funding. So don't only look at foreign funding and accountability of foreign funding alone. Secondly, whether it's whatever the source of funding, we need to find out how to sustain what we have started, how to spread it and expand it in other areas, even if there is no further funding coming. So these are two different questions. It's not about accountability for foreign funds received, but it's about expansion of targets in ways that have not yet been thought through, perhaps through volunteerism, perhaps through government budgetary spending, perhaps through partnerships with the private sector. And I think university is getting involved, and university is getting involved not only in research, but in adopting and spreading good practice. So I would see that we need a coalition of partners at both the district and sub-district level, at the community level. We need the various sectors to work together. And we don't need to only wait for foreign funds or national funds. We need to start acting even without funds. This is my belief. And so I don't know, this may shake you a bit, but we need to talk further. But I'm glad you asked this question. So my advocacy is around starting up even if we don't have funds. And when we have funds, use them judiciously and imaginatively so that we can also sustain
No, it's okay. Fine.
Indicators are important, but they are not the only priority concern.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll hear from the session chair, Mr. Michael Vedasramani, sir, for your concluding remarks, please.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a very, what should I say, something very enriching experience from both of our panelist speakers, and both Dr. Chandan Ghosh and Dr. Loy Rigo. I think Loy Rigo Saab, I think when he put it that the 12 agenda, I think I was thinking so much to do, so much to learn. Thanks for your nice presentations and also, I mean, sensitizing people, and especially like Renuka, what she gave the feedback. And my special congratulations to you for torch bearing for this global concept from India to Egypt, and that is where you act as an ambassador. And time is short, so I would not further. A country like ours, I think when I think the Sustainable Development Goals, I look to my father of nation. He said, I think this Mother Earth will provide everything what you need, but not for the greed, which I think your presentations all said, simple technology, change your lifestyle, understand Mother Earth. I think if you are start appreciating at individual level, I think we can do great things. I would like to, from the bottom of my heart, thank each and every one of you to making this program so much enriching. And every I think Saturday we are, like Dr. Krishnamurthy said, we are getting enriched. Thank you very much for your presence. We look forward for more interaction. Thank you very much to one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, Professor Krishnamurthy, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a really very enriching session, and I think it's what Professor Chandan Ghosh started with the geotechnical aspect and ended with the kind of the sustainable management with reference to environment, and then how to reuse the materials. So how the environmental quality is very important, but under the disaster management, maybe we should need to give much emphasis on this environmental aspect as well. Okay, let us see that we are giving a lot of messages to the next generation in the postgraduate level students and graduate level of students. And now I am having two responsibilities. On one side, engaging the young students in the classroom, maybe in a virtual classroom right now. Maybe we will be having the offline classroom shortly. We are expecting that. And another side, I am having the responsibility to train the college and university faculty, especially under the faculty induction program right now we are conducting. And in that program also, we are having an exclusive module on sustainable development goals. That I've seen the content. I also shared with Professor Maria Selvam that I'm having the additional responsibility of training the teachers. It is something like training the trainers. So let us see that how effectively we can take these messages to different level, and then maybe we can achieve a lot in the coming years. At least we are having such kind of confidence and seeing that the expertise of the speakers in every Saturday, that I am having really a very good confidence that working together and networking of experts, and the Professor Vinod Chandra Menon and Professor Maria Selvam suggested that why don't start with the networking of institutions and the expertise available in this region. At least we can make use of it. And how to link this, not only the linking the institution and expertise, but how to take this all these messages to the students, and then up to the decision making level. Yes. And this is very, very important things. The importance are getting and gaining importance every day. And every Saturday we are really learning a lot of messages from the speakers. I once again thank all the organizers, because we have main pillars of advisors and two main advisors, and then the two young moderate age group, Dr. Savita and Dr. Suresh Kumar. I never met them in person, but I have seen them through video modes. So based on my eye judgment, they may be the middle age group, and then myself and Professor Suresh are in the same age group. And we are all in the different compartments, but the train is pulled by the two stalwarts, that is Michael sir and Professor Vinod Chandra Menon. So definitely this travel is going to reach our aimed destination. Let us see that whatever the things we are learning and gathering, we will take it to the destination. We will definitely achieve our task. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Actually, we planned for 8 weeks covering all the 17 goals, and that even interconnected with each other. That way, we have taken production and innovative technology and something like that. So next week is be two more SDGs. That's the 7th week on life below water and life on land. That is SDG 14 and 15, which are interlinked. And two more environmentalists are going to talk. And first time it's going to be dominated by ladies. Last time also happened. So it's going to be two female environmental scientists are going to share with those who are practicing with Japanese organizations. So they'll be sharing it. And last one on 26th of December is going to be the Memorial Day of our tsunami disaster. And that's very important thing on social justice as the 16th goal. And Professor Menon and all the experts over here are expected to share their experience, because building partnership is the ultimate goal of the 17 SDG goal. And rightly, Professor Krishnamurthy was talking about, we have a big responsibility of giving ourselves our experience, knowledge, and learn from the youngsters, because they are with new technologies. So it is, I will not say I'm teaching or we are sensitizing them. We are in fact exchanging our knowledge, and they are the national builders. We have a big responsibility to give to them. And that way, 26th will be the last of this 3.0 webinar. And we'll have plans for 4.0 on global level. Professor Michael and Vinod Menon are always very supportive, and Professor Krishnamurthy with this university background. Definitely, we think we can link the universities and take the research to the next level and show the way to the young professionals who take it up over. Thank you so much, Suresh Kumar sir, for all your support and coordination. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right time to thank. So I take this opportunity to thank on behalf of Disaster Resilient India Webinar Series 3.0, our chairman, respected chairman, He started with the opening remarks, involved himself till the end, and he has given a very powerful message today. India is having, Mother Earth is having everything for needy, not for greedy. This message is very, very louder, and consumption part, we should take it up, and the today's SDG goals mainly focused with this day. So thank you very much, sir, on behalf of the entire panelists joined and participants here. Now, Professor Krishnamurthy, sir, we are very proud to hear from the horse's mouth that two youngsters are doing. We are also crossing. I am 50, Savida will be 40 plus. We are always your students. We are very proud that I consider you are all the guiding force. Under your guidance and support, we will reach any height. That confidence level became very high. So that part, Professor Krishnamurthy sir has taken new challenges. You are competent enough, and you are the right person to deal, connect faculties and students. That interconnectivity and that balancing will be always there, and together we sail. And thank you very much, sir, for your nice opening and closing remarks, and you are taking part in the program. On behalf of the webinar series 3.0, we thank you, sir. Now,
Suresh Kumar sir, 1 second. Professor Krishnamurthy is contesting for the syndicate election. On behalf of DMRT and all the participants and everyone, we wish all the success to Professor Krishnamurthy to be the syndicate member, and even the higher levels to reach, because we have a lot of things to do at the national and global level, and his services would be of very much supportive to us. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir, we are with you, sir. We are with you.
Always.